Welcome to the Capstone Conversation, where you learn about what's happening in the greater East Bay. I am your host, Jared Asch. Today, we will go to the great city of Fremont with Councilmember Yang Shao. Fremont in economic development circles and conversations, everybody talks about how Fremont can attract life science and medical tech businesses, that they've done a good job of figuring out how to fast track process and really focus on economic development. And we're going to talk about many things in Fremont today, but we're going to get a glimpse into how over the past 10 years and in the next 10 years, Fremont is trying to develop. Councilman Shao, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your tenure as council.
Oh, sure. I was born in China, and after finishing college, I came to United States for my graduate studies. Eventually, I got a Ph.D. degree in chemistry from Harvard University. Then I moved to the Bay Area, and I've been working in the biotech, biopharmaceutical industry for over 2 decades. Starting in 2014, I decided to donate my after-hour time to community service and public service. I first was elected the board trustee for the Fremont Unified School District. And then in 2018, I decided to run for city council member and got elected. 2022, I got reelected, still representing District 4 in Fremont. During the whole period when I was on city council, I was vice mayor twice by rotation. Therefore, it is very proud for me to say Fremont is my hometown, and I'm very glad that Fremont has been setting a very good example for other cities in the state or even in United States as a city that not only is leading in manufacturing, but also leading in business development and life quality of residents. We are the happiest city in the U.S. 7 times in the last 9 years, 6 years in a row. And we're also the best place to raise children in the United States 3 years in a row. That's why I feel that today it is not only my pleasure to introduce to the audience how Fremont is, but also more specifically, what efforts we've been making in the past in economic development and also the forecast of the future.
Oh, I don't know if I've interviewed anybody with a chemistry background before. That makes you unique probably among most of the elected officials in the state of California.
Yes, because of my scientific background, I tend to be data-based when I'm making decisions rather than just going through my emotions. That probably sets me apart from most of the politicians. I always ask for more facts and data from the staff before I try to cast my vote. When I try to advocate for our city at the state and federal level, I always use data. I believe data doesn't lie. And when we talk about the economic development, I'm going to give you a lot of data in the next hour, hopefully to convince our audience that we are indeed a leader in the manufacturing in the United States, but also we will be the leader in the future.
All right, hit us. Why is Fremont a leader today? Why are they attracting so many businesses and why is it such a happy place? I know those are broad questions, but let's just start a dialogue on it.
Sure, Fremont is known as the manufacturing hub by the number of jobs in manufacturing that Fremont creates. We are the leader in the state. When you mention Fremont, people will think about Tesla. Indeed, more than 10 years ago, Tesla moved into Fremont and started producing all the automobiles. And right now, you can see because of we actually form a complete ecosystem in EV, battery, clean energy, new energy technology. Therefore, more and more companies in that industry want to move to Fremont, including domestic and abroad. For example, we have a Chinese battery company called Goshen that moved to Fremont 2 years ago, setting their R&D center and the small manufacturing center here in southern Fremont. We also have one of the largest solar panel companies in China called Trina that also set their headquarters in Fremont. Of course, not only we are leading in advanced manufacturing, AI is probably the most popular theme nowadays. And we're very proud to say that even in that field, we have large companies like Quantum Computer, a Taiwanese international company that already set up their manufacturing facilities here in Southern Fremont. And they are working closely with NVIDIA to make AI servers by over $20 billion worth of production every year. In that case, you can see that not only we are the manufacturing hub, we're also stacking new technology like AI and new technology like EV on top of each other so that eventually we are basically going to move with the advancement of the technology and the new trend and always keep at the top. But not only that, we also have excellent educational institutions. San Francisco Bay University continue to produce a well-educated, high-quality workforce for those manufacturing jobs. In that case, you can see we already have the business in place, we have the education in place, and the last thing is, of course, the government. We have an excellent economic development department, and their key to success is intentionality, which means that they are fully aware of what is going on. They are proactively taking actions to help business to settle down in Fremont. I'm going to later on give you more numbers about vacancies and the time it would take for a company to really start operation after they settle down. These are all the very quick summary of why we believe that we are the leader and will continue to be the leader.
I remember Don Burris from the city of Vacaville was on about a year ago, and he talked about the importance of clustering, that the life science companies want to cluster. And what I'm hearing, what Fremont is doing is building on top of Tesla to cluster those battery companies, those related energy companies in the EV space, and then building AI companies that are integral to that same ecosystem together. And I think that definitely seems like a cluster of success. And we even see with Hollywood, just one studio and on top of another studio, and it helps just make a cohesive, strong economy locally.
Not only that, I think clustering is certainly one key factor for our success. Also, don't forget that we are in the Silicon Valley and we are surrounded by high tech giants like Google, Apple, and now NVIDIA. And we continue to get resources support from those companies. Some of them may even have started in Fremont. For example, Apple and NVIDIA. They all started in Fremont. And then eventually they expanded and then they moved into Santa Clara County. For example, Facebook, now known as Meta, also opened their campus in Northern Fremont. With also such big companies, we always have new job opportunities for local people. I'm also going to later on talk about how, while we are trying to attract big companies with hundreds of billions of dollars in annual revenue to settle in Fremont, we always care about small business. That is also part of our success in Fremont.
It's important to find a balance to everything, right? Because the amenities all matter in attracting that economy. You talked about like Fremont being rated one of the happiest places, one of the best places to raise a kid. Let's pause on the economic nature of the city and talk about why is Fremont rated so highly in those family and lifestyle places?
Please subscribe to this podcast and consider leaving us a review.
Sure, over the years, the local demographic, right now, 2/3 of our residents from Asian countries. They're basically first generation immigrants. And even in my district 4, 75% of the residents are AAPI residents, Asian American Pacific Islanders. Because of their culture and their value, for example, they are law abiding and they are hardworking. They care for high quality education. They care for public safety, and they also care for economic development. This forms a big picture for Fremont. One key factor for us being the happiest city is divorce rate. Of course, you would argue that because of the Asian community or largely Asian community here in Fremont, the divorce is a stigma in Asian culture. Therefore, our divorce rate is about 1/3 of that of the whole United States. Is one of the reasons you get married happily and a happy family raise happy kids. Therefore, overall, everyone is happy. So that's one thing. Second thing is a high level of education. If you count everyone, every soul in Fremont, from babies even to senior people, over 51% of the local population receive bachelor's degrees or higher. That also attributes to the large community of immigrated, highly educated, skilled workers in the high-tech industry and in the Silicon Valley. We're highly educated, which means typically we have the knowledge and wisdom to deal with all the challenges, difficulties in life. That's the second thing. Third thing is the median household income. In Fremont, ours is over $130,000 per year. And if you look at average household income over the whole country, now we are at least on the top 10. You have money, you have knowledge, and you don't divorce. Of course, in general, you're happy. But then, of course, we also have high quality public schools. Why I'm saying that is because I used to be on the school board, and in 2018, I was even the president of Fremont Unified School District Board. And I know that almost all of our schools, 41 schools, received a golden ribbon from the Department of Education in California. And parents, because they benefit from their education, they care about education, they have high expectation for their children. Overall, the performance, academic performance of all the students in Fremont Unified School District are recognized. Therefore, FUSD is recognized as one of the best school districts, not only in the Bay Area, but nationwide. You have a very good public education. And lastly, we have very good public safety. How good? With a similar size, we are only second to the city of Irvine in California. We are the best in Northern California, better than San Jose, Oakland, San Francisco, you name it. In general, because of all those factors, those agencies that will rank all the cities gave us the highest overall score. And we've been taking the lead, at least in the last 6 years, as the happiest.
That's great. I got money, stay married, be smart, and those are some factors that will lead to success. Do you know how the income number, yes, it's high, but so is the whole Bay Area and most of California compared to the rest of the country. How does Fremont compare to its neighboring cities in that income? Do you know offhand?
From what I know, of course, the city of Sunnyvale, because of Google, certainly has slightly higher. And if you talk about small pockets in the Bay Area, Atherton, typically, that is where all the owners of the high-tech giants live. But apart from that, I would say we are probably the highest in the Bay Area.
And you certainly are. You're above the Alameda County average. I was just looking by about 10 or 15,000 a household. And that is, it sounds like a smaller number, but it is significant when you add up the number of households and the different locations that bring it up and down. Let's dive into more about that economic development side that you've seen. One of the rumors out there is Fremont can approve a building permit for a new manufacturing facility in 90 days, which is by far, some can't even approve it within a year or two. What have you experienced? Some of that started before you, but what are you seeing and how does that impact attracting new companies here?
First of all, you mentioned the time to take the permit to build up the manufacturing facility. You're saying like 90 days. What I heard was 30 days, even shorter,
Wow.
comparing with other cities in the Bay Area, which might take 24 to 36 months for that to complete. That is because we're actively working with all those companies. Our economic development department, with what I call the intentionality, proactively try to help those companies to not only get through the paperwork process to get all the permits done, but also try to really help them get the infrastructure they need. We all know that in order to set up a manufacturing activities, the first thing you need is power supply. And that basically is about PG&E. And fortunately, in Fremont, we already have existing like 7 substations where you can easily connect to get the power supply, or if necessary, even build on the existing substation to get more power supplies to those new manufacturing sites. This is something that we have, but other cities don't have. It is the reflection of the collaboration between the city and the PG&E over the years to continue to set up or to expand the capacity of the substations. Therefore, when new companies move in and they don't have to wait for a long time for the infrastructure to be in place. Rather, they can easily get plugged in and play.
I think that's important. And if you have power, that definitely has come up compared to other cities which are having issues with PG and E and having enough power in the region to turn on housing, to turn on manufacturing capabilities, life sciences. And so it seems you guys are efficient there with those substations and with the amount of power companies can draw from the grid.
Yes, not only that, we also are proud of our vacancy rate. Overall, in the Silicon Valley, including San Francisco, right now, the R&D facility vacancy is probably around 30%. But in Fremont, because of all the factors I just mentioned, local government support, shorter permit period, established infrastructure, we have R&D facility vacancy below 12% versus the 30% that's somewhere else in the Bay Area. Also, if we include all the vacancies for commercial properties, ours is below 4.5%, quite significantly lower than the rest of the Bay Area. That is also the reflection that the people realize that if they want to start something, they start in Fremont. That is the reason why we enjoy such a low vacancy rate. Also, there's a gradual conversion of Fremont from the secondary market to the primary market. Remember that I told you that companies like Apple and NVIDIA used to start their operations in Fremont, then they moved to somewhere else in Silicon Valley. That is because in the old days, the 880 corridor was regarded in the industry of commercial realty as the secondary market.
Yeah.
Okay. And they treat Sunnyvale, but now it's changing. Fremont now is becoming the primary market. In the old days, there was a saying that in Fremont, the commercial property value was first down and last to recover if there's any like recession or anything like that. It's no longer that anymore. That used to be the case, but now everyone realizes that Fremont is the place to start. And for commercial realty investment, they also try to work with the local government to make more investment because we make that investment environment friendly to them. For example, zoning code. We are very practical. In the past 3 years, I have encountered multiple cases where the planning commission will come to the city council and ask us to modify our general plan and then change the zoning code to facilitate more manufacturing facilities after we approved that change, we see building getting up and then factories moving in and start making manufacturing activities. This is certainly something that we see that in the whole circle, the government plays a very big role.
I think that's important. The getting into what you're saying is 30 days to try to get approval for some things, even if it's 90. The fact that the planning commission comes to the city council and say, hey, we like this idea. We need this. We need a general plan amendment. And that the council is willing to do that. I was talking to one city right now that I know, they are redoing their general plan as their number one priority for the first time in 40 years. And the city manager estimates it'll take 4 years. And then somebody pointed out from the Chamber of Commerce that the Allies won World War II in 3.5 years. And yeah. And I think the fact that there's an element there where the planning commissioners, staff, and the city council are all sort of rowing in the same direction in Fremont and communicating is very helpful, because in other places, there is just this anti-growth, or you can't just amend something in the general plan without it taking 3 years. And yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That shows the vision that the leadership of the city has. Not only we try to help all the big business to come in and start their manufacturing activities, we actually have very good plan to rebuild the downtown area. If you're familiar with Fremont did not have a downtown, unlike neighboring cities like Pleasanton or San Jose. Now, actually, even before I became the city council member in 2018, the city already started this planning for the downtown surrounding near the existing Fremont hub. The whole area, a lot of buildings were demolished, and then we tried to build up all those mixed use buildings where the first floor are all the shops, restaurants, where the second to the top floor are all like apartments, the Centennial style in San Jose. By doing that, we were very successful in attracting a lot of small businesses. And we work closely as the city government and the Chamber of Commerce to try to attract small businesses into the downtown area. Every time a new business opens, then the city council members and the mayor will show up with the Chamber of Commerce people to congratulate them and have a very well-attended, high-profile opening ceremony. Bit by bit, we are rebuilding, or we're shaping up. It's still ongoing. And now you come to hang out in downtown area, you can find places to hang out, places to eat, to shop, and it's family friendly. With that, I would say this continues to show that we not only make plans, but that we make sure the plans are carried out. One more thing, for this small business, we know we just came out of a pandemic. During the pandemic, the city government tried very hard to get funding from the federal government, and then turn around and try to rescue or help those struggling small businesses during pandemic. During the pandemic, of course, 5 years ago, this time, we all remember there was this George Floyd incident where it triggered social unrest in Alameda County, starting from Oakland and then coming down city by city, looting, shops being set on fire, and that kind of social unrest. The city of Fremont was the first city in the whole county of Alameda to have this curfew. We also set up road barriers, and police were on guard. Those looters in vehicles coming down 880 tried to get into Fremont, but then they saw that police were there, so they had to move on. And during the whole process, whole period, we did not have any shops being burned down or looted. This is also why Fremont business has confidence in the local government, because we're there to protect them.
That's important because I live in Walnut Creek, and, the shops here were hit hard by the looters. I'm not talking about the people who had the right to protest. I'm talking about there was a difference. That's great that Fremont was able to proactively get on top of that. I want to pivot a second, but I look at it through an economic development lens. When you're talking about public safety or just city government, you have a science background. You talked a lot about the tech companies that are there. What is the city doing in its own business to embrace technology?
First of all, I feel that the city staff has been continuing educating themselves to realize the importance of the current trend. As an example, the Future of Fremont forum that we just held in Fremont this week, hosted by the Silicon Valley Business Journal. We, as a city, are a member of the Silicon Valley Business Journal, and we are hosting or helping them host a lot of events like that to keep track of the new technology and then new trend in high tech that we try to explore our opportunity as a city in this new trend. Right now, of course, the Trump administration tries to bring back to the United States the manufacturing activities as the leader as the manufacturing hub. We're already doing manufacturing, but we will continue to try to take advantage of this new trend and try to further develop our business, especially in the manufacturing area. We not only try to get to be updated on the current technology trend, but also the policy trend in order to use our own advantage and our resources to basically catch the bus and then never fall behind. This is certainly something that we do. Also, we continue to work with our local educational institutions. I already mentioned two. One is the San Francisco Bay University, and then the second one is Ohlone College. We work with those two institutions very closely, not only to understand what's going on in the high tech sector, but also to make sure that Fremont continues to provide highly educated workforce to support those new companies. We also work with an institution which is called a Semiconductor Skills Bridge Academy. Silicon Valley is known as Silicon Valley because of the semiconductor industry. Fremont basically is on the hardware side of the semiconductor industry. And we realized that not everyone has to go through college to be a worker in this industry. Actually, high school students, enough vocational training, will be able to work in this industry. In our city, we already have like Lam Research as well as other companies that are part of the semiconductor industry in the Silicon Valley. And we continue to provide workforce for them. Every year, we as a city will organize a manufacturing week where we send Ohlone College students as well as high school students to different companies, including the company I said, Lam Research, the semiconductor company, as well as biotech companies to let them have the firsthand experience that they can start to do summer internship and later on become an employee of the local companies. In Fremont, actually, we have over 350 biotech companies. Also, we have Boehringer Ingelheim, a well-known German biopharmaceutical company in northern Fremont. And we try to encourage students to not only start their interest in STEM very early in our public schools, but we have Mission Valley ROP, the vocational training school, to help the high school students to be familiar with what's going on in Fremont, to get familiar with the local companies. Of course, the local companies are very supportive. They're very glad to see if they can get the attention of the rising workforce so that they can come and work. Fremont has been balanced between jobs and housing. We're no longer a bedroom city. We try to generate local jobs for those companies that I mentioned. So they can live here and work.
That's nice because traffic in the afternoons through there is horrible coming north. What I'm hearing there on it is a common theme in a couple different areas. But it all comes back to everybody again is rowing in the same direction. You're talking about workforce initiatives where the city and the colleges and the community college and the manufacturing all come together to develop that workforce with the school district. You talk about the planning commission and the city council and staff, and even staff as they get a permit. I know the economic development staff in Fremont has talked to me about, hey, we just bring everybody who needs to be involved in. And instead of one person finishing it, putting it on somebody else's desk where it sits for 2 weeks, we all get in the same room. And if somebody has to go inspect the building, can we all go inspect on the same day? And I'm hearing just everybody coming together in all these different aspects fairly well.
Oh, yes. Not only that, they are trying very hard, even sometimes going out of their ways to help companies really get those permits down. For example, let me give you an example. One battery manufacturing company, I won't name names, but they try to set up their manufacturing workshop in Fremont because of the nature of the lithium-based battery manufacturing. There are extra safety concerns and regulations. That company, because they were not familiar with setting up their shops in United States, more specifically in California, they hired some consultants that were completely not familiar with the local codes and regulations. Eventually, they failed the first inspection. It was our economic development department that would work with that company and help them find competent consultants and architects to eventually change their plan and then help them get approved for their workshop. You see here, it's like they're not just passively waiting for everything to be done so that they can show up and do the inspection. They are deeply involved already in the beginning steps to help those companies. I'm very proud that they've been doing that. And that may be one of the keys to our success is that our government is really going out of our working extra mile to help those businesses.
If you were going to give advice to other cities who talk about Fremont as a model in economic development, what would be the one or two tips you'd want to give to another city of advice?
I think it can really boil down to one word, which I just kept bringing up, is intentionality. You have to have the intention. You have to share the intention. And so that takes a lot of communication, persuading. That takes a lot of compromises, working together. But it all works towards the same vision, same future. Because when a company wants to even show interest to settle down in Fremont, we try to not only sell that company like our vision, but also really try to provide practical help and support. I've been to a lot of those industry-specific parties held by the Economic Development Department. What they did was they tried to have those afternoon beer parties or cocktail parties to invite leaders of companies in that specific sector, being either biotech or biopharmaceutical or battery design and manufacturing or EV to come together. And then through those social events, they can organically make a connection and then try to make the ecosystem even stronger. That generates a lot of collaborations among themselves and eventually the expansion of those companies and the more job opportunities being created. I see that one tip that I would like to share with other cities is intentionality.
I like that. I know we focused a lot on economic development today and the growth and housing and happiness. What else are you focused on as a council member in the city of Fremont?
Yes, actually, let me tell you, I should have told you at the beginning of this program that every year in January or February, the city council would take a retreat and then set up the top priorities for the city for the next year. For this year, needless to say, economic development is one of the priorities. 3 other priorities are public safety, homelessness, and environmental sustainability. And I believe that they all are connected with each other. And right now, what I'm continuing to work on is public safety and homelessness. For example, this year we passed a new encampment ordinances to restrict the illegal encampment by the homeless people near the businesses or in the residential area. And we're actively enforcing that encampment ordinance. That certainly not only won the support of the majority of the residents and the businesses, but also show that as the happiest city, we are trying to combine our law enforcement and resources to help. That the goal is to get them housed, but also meanwhile try to prevent them from creating hazards like fire hazards or public health hazards to the neighborhood. Homelessness is one area that I'm continuing to work on. Public safety, of course, as we're talking this coming weekend, we know that there are going to be a lot of events, protests all over the Bay Area. And based on our experience in 2020, the police is working closely with the city council to make sure that there's no riot, no looting happening in Fremont.
That would be great if that can happen. I appreciate it. We are out of time for today. For Council Member Yang Shao of the City of Fremont, thank you for talking with us today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Wait, don't leave yet. Hit subscribe. Make sure you get the weekly updates. We have a new episode every Wednesday for stuff happening in the East Bay. In the meantime, follow me on LinkedIn, Jared Asch, or check out our firm where we have a weekly newsletter and blog at Capstone Government Affairs on LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us today on the Capstone Conversation.